What up, beautiful souls? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of my new thing with extra feels. This is where I drop in with you guys on an emotional, feely, vulnerable, intimate level whilst I sip on some motherfucking celery juice. So I've just done a 35-minute version of this video, which is on my Patreon, but I want to condense it for YouTube. This video, I want to talk about judgment. It's something that obviously we all know about judgment. We all have a relative idea about it. Excuse me, I'm judging myself on my little pimple that I got on my nose already. Look. Judgment. Why do we judge other people? Where does that come from? And why is it relevant to emotions and feeling? I think it's relevant because it's a flag, it's a little red flag, it's an opportunity, it's an indicator. So, humans, there are two aspects of us, okay? The soul, which is eternal, which is the energy and the consciousness, the part of you that knows you are you, that is keeping the body, the ego, the temporary experience that we're having, keeping that alive. Without the soul in the body, no energy, no life, okay? And you can use whatever language you want around that. I like to say it's the soul. My soul is in the body rather than my body. Anyway, so soul, ego. Soul is eternal. It's an aspect of the divine. It's forever. It's energy. It doesn't run out. The ego, the body, it is temporary. It is the spacesuit that we are incarnated in, that we need in the third dimension to experience being a human. It doesn't last forever. We have to die. In fact, everything dies. Everything is constantly dying. Death, rebirth, death, rebirth. That's kind of the whole thing of life. It's like the yin-yang thing. You can't have one without the other. So you can't have the temporary human experience without the eternal soul. It's the two that you need. So the soul would never judge anything. So what is judging something? It's saying like, that shouldn't be like that. That should be like this. I know better. Like the ego is like, that's an ego talk. That's ego talk. It's not soul talk. The soul is accepting as everything, how everything is. The ego wants to change things. You should be like this. You shouldn't be like that. You should have done this. You definitely shouldn't have done that. All judgment, ego talk. I don't like that person's behavior. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like the way their hair is. I preferred it when he had short hair. I preferred it when he used to make daily videos. I don't think he's doing his life right now. Judgment, judgment, judgment from ego. Not a problem. And here's the key, I suppose, is that I do not judge you for judging me. I do not judge you for judging other people. I do not judge you for doing anything because you have free will. I have free will to go about this life and have my human experience in the way that I choose. I have freedom to choose. God, source, the universe, spirit, great spirit, sky daddy, whatever you want to call the place from which everything comes, the gift that we have in this experience is free will to choose. I can choose to make this video or not make this video. I can choose to read the comments or not read the comments. I can choose, you can choose to watch this video. And thank you for choosing to watch this video. Thank you. And if you're not having a good time watching this video, you can choose not to watch this, to continue. You can choose to hit thumbs down. You can choose, I preferred it when he used to make these other videos. Anyway, choice. We have free will and choice. That is That is literally what makes life worth living. Choice is what makes our lives worth living. When you take choices away and you take freedoms away from us, life gets really average. So if I judge you and say, I would rather you loved every video of mine and gave me a thumbs up, I'm judging you, and I'm saying I would rather you didn't have free will to thumbs down my video. I would rather you didn't have free will to write a mean comment. I would rather you, so that's ego talk coming from my side. If I would rather you had done something or hadn't done something, that's me saying, I want to take away your free will and choice. So that's quite big, I think, for me. When that landed for me, it was like, okay, so actually, collectively, if we are behaving in a certain way, and I would rather we behaved in a different way, I am literally wanting to take free will away from millions of people to behave the way they're behaving and to live their life. That's ego. That's not soul talk. That's not the higher self. Your higher self accepts everything for how it is. That doesn't mean the higher self doesn't maybe want to see some, like, would prefer that we were moving in a direction of harmony, or would prefer people maybe to not perpetuate suffering of other people. But again, that sounds like ego talk to me, that my higher self is like, actually, everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. But in terms of evolution, physically, we're not changing very much. I think we're pretty perfect in terms of evolution. Like, I don't need anything else. Like, I don't need an extra arm, and my vision is great. So what's evolving in the continuation of evolution? Consciousness, awareness, understanding. And where does that begin? Conscious awareness and understanding begins internally. It begins with the self. Know yourself. How do we know ourselves? By looking at all of the aspects of ourselves that cause us to behave in certain ways. So I used to judge people often. I remember being a kid and seeing like a homeless person and thinking to myself, seriously thinking to myself, he should have tried harder at school. Christ, that's such a gnarly judgment for a child. Of course, I'm unconscious to even what I'm thinking or what I'm saying, but this is my point. That's unconscious. Now I have conscious awareness of what I'm thinking, and so if I see a homeless person, I'm like, should have tried harder at school. Really? You're gonna judge that person? You have no idea the life they've lived. You have no idea what's going on up here for them. That person might be happier than you are. Judgment, that's ego talk. So knowing yourself is the massive step that we're taking in conscious evolution as a species right now. Which is why I'm making these videos, despite them not being popular or monetizable necessarily, and I know they're going to ruffle some feathers, and it's going to be a journey for me personally to be speaking these truths, and the reason I'm speaking them is because this internal journey, getting to know myself, which has helped me to stop judging other people, has made my life so much more peaceful. I am so much happier now. And it's all internal. It's really got very little to do with what's going on externally to me. It's all internal. Know yourself. Where does that begin? Okay, there's an ego. What does ego mean? It's a construct, it's a fabrication, it's an idea, it's a Benjamin, it's this idea of self, temporary. What's higher self? Divine, eternal, wisdom, knowledge, wisdom. What else does knowing yourself mean? Knowing yourself means, okay, I find myself judging people. I don't want to judge people. And it's a reflection of the way I treat myself, because you treat others the way we treat ourselves. That's true. It's true for me anyway. It's true for a lot of people that I've met. The way you treat others is a reflection of the way you treat yourself. So where am I judging myself? If I'm judging someone else, where am I judging myself? Why am I judging myself? Why am I so harsh on myself? Why do I put so much pressure on myself to perform constantly, to be a certain way? What it comes down to ultimately is, this is the connection to emotions and to feelings, because it's hard to look at the parts of us that are creating these judgments and that we project. It's not easy. Where's that if I'm angry at people, if I'm generally agitated, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, and I get riled up easily, and I'm addicted to getting into confrontations, where does that come from? Because you weren't born with that. It was learned. It's a belief system and a response pattern that has been learned in order for you to survive, which comes from your ego. Ego is for survival. So what I've done, and what many millions of people are doing on the planet right now, is we are taking a look at those shadows and being like, okay, this thing happened to me when I was younger, or this thing happened to me when I was a child. Whatever that thing is that you are carrying, that chip or that emotional wound that you're then perpetuating and projecting out, whatever that thing is, it needs to be looked at. And what that's meant for me is, in order to look at that, I need to talk about it. I need to open up about it. I need to really sit with my feelings and gain some emotional intelligence. How do I actually feel? Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. What external things are causing me to feel that thing again? That reaction. It's really just shining a light on the thing that needs some attention and some healing. And of course, you guys have free will. You can do what the fuck you want. That's the blessing of this whole situation. It's also the curse, because you have to choose. Nobody can force you to do any healing work. So if you find there are patterns that are coming up in your life that aren't serving you, that are making you feel less than good over and over and over again, and you're like, why does this keep happening? It's time to look at that. It's time to talk about it. It's time to open up about it. And a really good red flag indicator for that is addiction. For me, I was addicted and still dip into tendencies of addiction to escape feeling those hard feelings. But all I'm doing is delaying the process. I'll talk about that in another video. But I've actually just put up on Patreon a 30-minute little mini podcast thing where I was talking about short-term pain creating long-term peace. And that was talking about my addictions and how the opposite of that, short-term pleasure for long-term pain, is snacking on food, going on Instagram, gaming, smoking cannabis, like whatever it is, to avoid feeling those feelings, because I wanted to avoid the short-term pain, but what I was missing out on was long-term pleasure. If you go to Patreon, you can see that, or listen to it rather. So where do you lack control? I'm assuming now that you're interested in the process of healing. Where do you lack control? Because that is a good indicator of avoidance of feeling the feelings that need to be felt. Again, feelings, this is why this is so important to me. Feelings need to be felt. Feel it to heal it. You can't avoid it. Feel it, transcend it, alchemize it from density into energy. And then you don't have to carry it. And if you're not carrying it, you won't project it as often. Know yourself. And this is like the process of getting on top of mental health as well. It's like anxiety and depression. Where do those feelings come from? What's causing that? Look back at those shadows. Where's that coming from? Be brave enough to look at it, and then be brave enough to feel it and ask for help. You don't have to do it on your own. There are millions and millions and millions of us doing this. We are literally here to process these old density, these old dense paradigms and emotions. We're here to feel, baby. It's what makes us different from robots. I love you. I'm gonna keep it at 17 minutes. This was meant to be 10 minutes. I'm gonna get better at keeping it short. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Go and check out my Patreon. The link is below. It's patreon.com/Benjam Brown if you want to support this kind of content. And yeah, thank you for watching to the end of the video. I love you unconditionally.